will start the meeting because we now have quorum. I'll call the meeting to order. The first item of business is I'll read the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the county of Haliburton is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which are Curve Lake, Rama, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. We acknowledge a shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original Indigenous inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Could I have a motion to adopt the agenda, unless there are some questions about the agenda? Moved by Jen, seconded by Adele. Okay. Jen and Adele. Any conflicts of interest that anybody wants to report? Okay, seeing one, we'll go to the consent agenda. It consists of the adoption of the minutes of the November 8th Library Board meeting and the November 22nd Library Board meetings. The librarian's report, the circulation statistics, and working committee reports. Are there any questions on the consent agenda, any of the items? Seeing one, nice, good report, Andrea. Thank you for doing that. Seeing none, could I have a motion to accept the consent or approve the consent agenda, please? Moved by Jackie. You're lighting up there, so I'll say you. And anybody in the room? Adele? Okay. Jackie and Adele. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. We'll do the financial reports, and I'll turn it over to Andrea for that, okay?
Sure, yeah. So we are drawing near to the end of the year in November. Unfortunately, we still have not received the $120,000 from the provincial government.
That'll come December 24th at 12:59 p.m.
So I was just going to say all the chatter on the CEO listserv saying like nobody's received it and everybody's waiting with bated breath. So we expect that it will come. So that's why there's those zeros showing in that section.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else to mention. We have in the contracted services line, we did the auditor costs came in and they were actually significantly more expensive than anticipated. So the budget for that was $4,100 and the actual amount was $10,176.
So I saw that, Andrea. And what was their explanation for that, if any?
They have increased the cost, and that we should expect that increased cost going forward. So that's what Andrea Robinson said, that we need to probably increase that line moving forward.
How long have we had those auditors? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know. It's been the same Oscar Ploney presenting for the 2 years that I've been here, but I can't to further back.
Would you mind checking that out for me, just out of curiosity? I kind of like thinking about putting out a little bit of a proposal call for new auditors every 5 years or so if they start fooling around like this. I mean, that's a significant increase, and they could have advised us of that in advance of sending the bill in, I think. But anyway, I'll stop there.
I'll mention it to Andrea Robinson. I'm not sure how much control over who the auditor is that we have, if it's separate from the process at all.
Is it part of the county audit process?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. That makes sense. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry to interfere.
No, don't worry. That's the kind of the only slide for me. Does anyone have questions about where we're at? I mean, $120,000 is missing, so that's, as we wrap up the year, still not.
Hopefully the government's good for it. Okay, seeing no questions, then I'll
Oh,
ask for a motion.
Question. There's a
Pardon?
question.
Oh, sorry, Paul, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead, please.
Seems to me last year that it was the same kind of thing and they
Yes.
came in maybe even into the new year.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Seems to be the way they work. Yeah.
Yeah, the part of the issue is that our year-end monitors that of the municipality, which is the right thing to do. But the provincial year-end is March 31st, as you all know, so there's always that little drag in there, unfortunately. Okay, seeing no other questions, or comments, I will ask for a mover and seconder for a motion, be it resolved that the Haliburton County Library Board accepts the financial report as presented. You have a mover and seconder, please. Moved by Jen. And seconded by, I think Paul's got his hand up way down there. All right. Anybody opposed to that? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Now we'll go on. Any business arising from the minutes? I don't see any. And we'll go to new business. Andrea, over to you.
All right, so we thought we'd get a head start on planning for the year ahead so that staff can plan their holidays. So we have proposed the list of library closures for the whole year this time. So the proposed dates are all listed. Most of them are the stat holidays. There are a couple, Saturday, March 30th, which is the Saturday between Good Friday and Easter Monday. Sunday we're closed anyway. That gives staff a 4-day weekend. We've done that for the last 2 years. So we're hoping you'll say yes to that again. That gives everyone a chance to, to go visit family or friends and have a 4-day weekend. We did look at the schedule. So Monday, December 23rd, branches would be closed anyway. So we're recommending for the admin center that we close from December 23rd to January 1st. For branches, we have, there's the boxes. Everyone have the cute little holiday thing that Tessa drew up in front of them.
Yes,
So the stat days are all closed for both branch staff and admin staff. And then there would be regular open hours for branches on the 27th and 28th, and then the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of January.
Okay, I did see that. Any questions on that from the members of the board? Jen, go ahead, please.
Without in any way suggesting that I'm trying to tip over an apple cart here, I wonder what the conversation has been like in the past about that Christmas break period when kids are home and it's an opportunity, to come out and maybe enjoy a bit of programming or go to the library and have that experience, because it's, and I'm not suggesting you revert, but I just wonder what the conversation has been like on that in the past.
So typically the year 2024, the days fall a little bit peculiar, like they're a little bit weird in 2024, the way the days fall. So in the recent couple of years, the actual stat days have fallen kind of more nicely to make a nice clean week off. There are, like, within that holiday break, there are 5 open to the public days. So we will, have crafts in the branches and
Okay.
And so we're not closing for 2 whole weeks. We're closing for like the stat days, and then the Mondays essentially when branches would be closed anyway.
Okay. So just
impact.
Okay.
Branch. It's
Okay, then I apologize because
I don't want to work on New Year's Eve.
No, definitely.
On New Year's Day or and I did ask staff about the Christmas Eve day, like whether they think would close.
No, Andrea, I don't think any of us are concerned about Christmas Eve or New Year's Day. I think Jen's point is that during that period of time when the kids are out, there should be some opportunity for them to do something at the library, come and visit us, read a book, do some
Yeah.
crafts or
And there
something.
are- there
And you've
are- yeah,
and you've
there-
answered that, but you've answered the question very well.
Yeah, thank you. I apologize for not cluing in better before I asked the question.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Any other
Lots of fun
questions?
at the library over the holidays.
I know. Okay, I have a motion, be it resolved, the County of Haliburton County Public Library Board accepts the proposed 2024 holiday hours. Could I have a mover, please? And a second, moved by Jen, seconded by, who's got a hand up there?
All the.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Now, Andrea, the 2024 budget. Does the board need these put up on the screen for any, would that help you if we did that?
This is a more, let's talk through the reserves, what we should have come and
Okay.
go. So we have to
Okay.
talk about the changes because of Dorset, like what
Yeah.
will those be?
Okay, does the overview of the 24 library budget deal with all of those things?
It's more of let's talk specifically about Dorset conversation.
All right, so can you give us a quick overview on the
Can you slow
2024?
down? I've made some notes here.
Okay, great.
So we are still waiting for a confirmation from Algonquin Highlands about whether or not we are having the library space in the Dorset Recreation Center.
Yeah.
And so obviously this has a big impact on our 2024 budget as we move forward, right? So we sort of need to know in order to plan what we need to take out of reserves and which budgets we need to tweak for the operational costs. So I've sort of broken this conversation into a couple sections for today. So that'll be 8.3 and 8.4.
Good.
For the operational adjustments, I'm hoping we can discuss those in the January 10th meeting. And then, so today, I'm hoping we can chat about the reserve budgets. So moving to 8.3, so we have transferred money from reserves for a number of purchases at the end of 2022 and 2023. So we still have, if in the budget that you were just looking at and approved, that we still do have funds in the small tools and equipment line. So that's the place where the funds for the air purifiers for small branches went, the branding signage, graphics for the Dorset Depot, tote bags, changes to the staff room, work areas in the back at Dysart and admin. And the other thing that went into that budget is the improvements to the furnishings in the Dysart children's area. So as an update for you about those projects, we have made a lot of progress about in the back workroom area. The furniture is all ordered. We have some shelving that's outstanding. And but we just haven't had the capacity with all the staffing change to look at the children's area furnishings. What we did do is put up the cork board. You have seen a few in some of the photos that the cork board where we can put up decorations and children's artwork to make it a more friendly space. That part has been done, but the bulk of the funds for the children's area we haven't spent yet. What we have discussed as a team, the admin team, is actually physically moving the location of the children's area to the back of the library near the windows. And so we're hoping that we can align that change with a carpet replacement change in the future. So all that to say that we'd still like to make the changes to the Dysart children's area. We haven't had time to do it, and we'd actually like to do something different in the future. So I'm hoping is that you would like to move those surplus funds back into reserves for use at a future time. So that's the kind of the first part, is moving some money back into reserves that we have not spent, and those are the reasons why it's not spent. And then 8.4 is we'll be back to the next section. So.
Could I
does any-
just ask a question on 8.3? So your motion says move the unspent reserve funds for small tools back into library reserve. I get that.
Yeah.
What's the magnitude of that money? Do you know off the top of your head?
I am not sure the exact figure. It will be a little bit different from the end of November report that we will just looked at, because we have ordered the shelves. Melanie's been told, I think they should arrive like probably early January, but maybe late December, but they close over December. So I don't know.
Yeah,
So-
I already got the invoice for it, but it hasn't gone through yet on our budget line.
Okay,
So,
there will be enough funds left if we move the unspent funds. There will be enough funds left to pay for all of those invoices as they come in, correct?
so that's the only one that we're really waiting for
Okay.
to process is that one. I believe the U-line gone through.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's the only one that we're waiting
Okay.
for. So whatever the remainder is after that one goes through, that'll be what we can, well, depending on what we have to pay for, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you. I have a motion, be it resolved that the Haliburton County Public Library Board approves that unspent reserve funds in the small tools and equipment line be moved back into library reserves for future use as presented.
Reserve funds, it's budgeted funds, isn't it? Sorry, it's not reserve funds, it's budgeted.
Budgeted funds?
It's budgeted funds, isn't it?
Yeah, okay, that should be budgeted funds.
Yeah, so just cross it out for
Yeah.
budgeted funds.
We
Okay,
took it
got it.
from reserves, but it is.
It's part of this year's
It's a
budget.
budget.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay. Could I have a motion, a mover and seconder, please, for that, if you're supported? Moved by Jen, seconded by
Adele,
Adele. Thanks, Adele. Anybody opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Now, let's talk about the Dorset Fund.
Yes. So I am just going to reread the resolution that was made at the November 8th meeting. So be it resolved that the Haliburton County Public Library Board agrees to request from the Township of Algonquin Highlands a designated library space of 750 square feet in the Dorset Recreation Center, as well as consideration for use of additional space within the facility when needed for programming purposes, and that the Haliburton County Library Board agrees to budget for 14 staff weekly hours of operation at Dorset Branch Library.
Mhm.
This is the part we need to talk about. Furthermore, the Haliburton County Public Library Board agrees to use a portion of the library's reserve funds to assist the Township of Algonquin Highlands with the purchase of furnishings for the Dorset Branch Library. So
Yep.
I'm hoping in this conversation, and so relate to the 2024 budget, is like, what does that figure look like? Because that's going to impact how, when we start to tweak the numbers for the budget as we move forward in the process in January, depending on what the board would like to do with the reserve funds for different aspects of what's needed to get a Dorset branch up and running. We sort of need to have the what do you want to spend essentially?
Well, the hours, Andrea, the hours that we've assigned from a staff point of view is pretty easy to calculate.
That's not where to, that's operational, and that's already decided. It's
Okay,
more
so-
of the part that the last sort of line about using a portion of the library's reserve funds. So we just need we need something actually concrete.
Okay, Jen has her hand up, so I'd like her to speak to this, and she's probably the one that should speak to it more than anybody else, because you live and breathe it every day. All yours, Jen.
Sure. I thought I might just offer some context of where we are in that
Perfect.
conversation in the township, so you
Perfect.
know.
Thank you.
For those of you with computers in front of you, I've just sent you in the chat a link to tomorrow's report in the upcoming agenda. We'll be discussing this tomorrow, which is good. We'll have answers and presumably a resolution tomorrow, but I don't have a crystal ball for as much as I'd like to. I don't know. Are you able to bring that up on the screen, Brian?
I can see it on my screen right now. Yes.
Erin, I'm not sure if you're listening right now. Are you able to pull it up?
Oh, look, she's doing it.
Thank you,
Oh, there
Erin.
it is.
Great. Okay, so this is the report we'll be discussing tomorrow. And Erin, if you would mind just scrolling down to the bottom. This report is on the whole Dorset Rec Center, and right there you'll find library space.
Oh, yes.
And they're saying basically good news is being proposed. There was a space in the basement that has been deemed appropriate. It was 857 square feet, but a little bit of storage space has also been deemed needed by, for general purposes. So the staff have seen a way of configuring that space so that, if I'm not mistaken, 683 square feet of it can go to the library and the remaining will go to storage for township purposes.
Mm-hmm.
The really good news is, one, it's got lots of natural light, but two, if Erin, if you scroll down further, let's see. Okay, you see there's a link there to lower level library space.
Yeah.
So this is in the basement, but there is a lift, a fully accessible lift.
Okay.
So here's the space they're proposing in the upper left-hand corner. You'll see that there's a hallway at the library, and immediately across from the hallway is a small meeting room. And there is a kitchen attached to it. So the meeting room will be used for any number of things, including some kitchen services, some dining services. But basically, anytime the library wants to do programming, it can simply reserve that room or even have a standing reservation for use of that small meeting room. And I can't recall exactly what the size of the small meeting room is, but basically the library and the small meeting room together are well in excess of 750 square feet. It would be, yeah, I mean, I can't say off the top of my head, and my visual math is very poor, but what I have requested that staff take into consideration is, when they go to outfit that small meeting room, that they consider ways of making it really friendly and welcoming. So it isn't just a dining hall space, but it actually offers a little bit of comfort and a place where people want to be, which would make programming just that little bit more inviting. I can't guarantee it because it does have that kitchen function too, and staff hasn't brought their suggestions back and council hasn't approved it, but I have made that request.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
And then a couple of other things. Well, one, I think I'll wait on one until we have the conversation tomorrow, just regarding signage. I'll see what staff have in mind. But Erin, if we go back to that report.
Just scroll, back to the section on library in the main report.
Yeah.
I saw a number in there, Jen, of 32,000, I think.
That's right. That's what I want to raise with you. Yeah. Is it easy enough to go back? Okay.
There we go.
There it is.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah.
Up a little more.
Yeah, and actually there it is at the bottom as well.
Right there.
So the refurbishment of that space, for like all of the structural refurbishment, is anticipated to be about 32,000, for which funding has already been, if not allocated by council, then at least earmarked for council's approval, and it's already pretty much in the coffers. So right now we're looking at those two spaces. One is dedicated, one is reserve ad infinitum, plus the 32,000 to refurbish. And I think it could be a really lovely space.
Yep. So Jen, can I just ask a quick question? So the 32,000 is what the municipality would have to spend to get the room physically ready to be used for something?
Well, yes, but the idea with it would be a dedicated library space.
Yes.
So I can go to them and get a sort of more of a breakdown of what exactly that would be, what they're referring to there. I don't have it entirely. in my mind.
Yeah. Now, just to follow up on that, so that money would have been budgeted already. I think you said you've got it set up in the budget for this work.
Yeah.
Would the expectation of us be only then to I just want to get this closed off here. Just give me a sec. Would it be for us to spend our money on the tables, the shelves, the books, all of that kind of stuff?
That was the idea that was being tossed about. So
Okay.
I think that's the understanding from the township side is that, over to you, is that something that you are able and interested in doing with the reserves that we've got? And based on your answer, we'd go back and we'd have our think, etc. If that, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of a meeting. I'll be there. No, Tom, I'm sorry. I'll be up in just a minute. I'll be up in a minute. Go and find Papa.
So Jen, I hear what you're saying. We have a motion that asks for us to put a certain amount of money into the motion for the Dorset branch. And I know you can't answer that question because it's a different kind of expenditure, different kind of budget for different kinds of things. Andrea, do you have a number that you want to plug in there?
Actually, yeah. So, thanks, Jen, and that's very exciting to see them above ground with windows and right across from the meeting room. That's amazing. So, yes, actually, would like to talk about a few different areas where I'd like some input from you. And
let me maybe before you go on, Andrea, let me read the motion, and then everybody will have heard it, and they'll understand what you're doing. The motion is, be it resolved that the Haliburton County Public Library Board approves the use of blank funds from the library reserve for the reopening of the Dorset branch in the Dorset Recreation Center. So what we need from you is, Andrea and your team, is to tell us what kind of number you need to get that thing up and going after the township has done their work to prepare the room to receive us, so to speak.
So the report that we presented at the November 8th meeting, there was estimated breakdowns for collections, computers and technology, office supplies, programming materials, and interior signage. So we would like to talk about each of those categories and the amounts that we had brainstormed and assigned to each of those.
Yeah.
For operating costs, those, I believe we should incorporate them into the 2024 budgeting process. So such as the 14 hours, the wages, the, extra cost for ink and paper and that type of thing. But the actual setting things up, I think we should come up with a number for collections, computers and technology, the office related supplies that are more like a stapler and the things that we just need one of at the beginning that I have. And then
that would include computers and other things like that as well.
Yeah, so I did get an estimate from Mark Jones in IT about how much the kind of initial setup would cost, and it's a little less than $7,000. So
that's the computer line.
So that's the circulation computer, the public computer, a printer, a white phone, Wi-Fi access point, managed network switch, receipt printer, barcode scanner, Ethernet cable, surge protector bars, and network labeling. And yes. So his exact amount was $6,658.66. But some things it was an estimate on his part for cabling and that type of thing. So I would suggest for computers and technology, in order to run a branch, we need all those things, and we have to buy them at the start of the year in order to open the branch. So I would say we definitely need $7,000 for that. Okay. The collections budget that we had proposed in the report was $20,000, with the caveat that it depends on the size and the layout of the branch. Yeah. And so that would be an initial collections purchase, and then going forward in the years beyond, obviously we would need to adjust the ongoing collections budget to account for another branch. The office supplies and materials, we thought to get the basics, we'd need $400. Programming materials, kind of a basic set of markers and scissors for kids and that type of thing, $150. And interior signage, so the things like, this is the nonfiction collection, this is the kids, all the signs in the plexiglass, around $500. So if we use all of those figures, the setup cost would be $63,050, $50. So if we could round it to 63,000.
Where am I?
Oh, 20,000. Oh, sorry, I missed this section.
It's, yeah, you forgot to tell us a very big number.
And I skipped it. So all the furniture.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I missed the big section.
That should be. You saw we were missing
the back. No,
Sorry, what was that
so
number?
it was $35,000 is what we estimated. Now, what Jen has shown us is a little bit smaller than 750 square feet that we were thinking of. Some of those things, like the desk size, I'm not sure how much, we kind of broke it down and thought this is how much the desk would cost. This is how much a children's table would cost. So it may be a little bit less if we have less square feet than the $35,000 we thought.
And may I just jump in there for a second, though? And this is coming from an ill-informed library organization brain. But my thinking was, if the meeting room is right next door, that there would be some meeting spaces that perhaps could be made smaller, because most of the meetings would be taking place next door, and therefore other things like desks or stacks could remain the same size.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we can take a look at it again now that we have, well, if it passes, in tomorrow, but
And Jen, I'll just ask this question quickly, Paul, and then I'll get to you, Jen and Andrea. If the meeting room, the room across the hall that we call the meeting room, would the county or would the township expect us to help to furnish that meeting room if we're going to use it?
No, in that it will be a multi-use meeting room.
Okay.
And so if the library would like to use it, and you'd be so welcome to as often as you wish, but it would be on a reservation basis.
Okay.
So,
Okay, that's
the
good.
furniture would not be yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Paul?
Took the words out of my mouth. My question was, is the town furnishing that room, or are we? And the other thing was, if there's a budgeted or projected estimate on outfitting the facility, better stick with it and not downsize it at all, because it's only going to increase with the way things are going right now.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
let me just run through the things that made up that $35,000 very rough estimate. So a public service desk and staff chair, $2,000, a kids table and chairs and a colorful carpet, $1,500, adult patron tables and seating, $3,000, a book drop, bookends and step stool, $2,300, the shelving for library materials, that's the big cost because library shelving is very expensive, $25,000, and 2 book trucks at $1,200 total. So we could look at any of those costs. So maybe the adult tables and chairs, it sounds like maybe there would be tables and chairs in the meeting room. So we could cut back on that.
Andrea, my suggestion on this for you and the members of the board is, you quoted a number of 63,000.
The total for all the things.
For all of that would be the money. And I would just change the motion to read, rather than approve the use of $63,000, the use of up to $63,000. So that gives you an upper limit, and if you don't need it, you can bring it down from there. But you know that if something comes along and you need it, you've got the $63,000 ceiling. Would that work with you?
Yes, yeah.
Adele?
So if we could backtrack just a bit, because don't township municipal governments help with furnishing or sometimes even pay for all the furnishings themselves. So I don't know if 63,000 is the number.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's why I was proposing that up to number, that if we don't need it, we won't use it, but if necessary, it's there.
Mm,
Up to you. I mean, I'm just trying to make it as easy on.
I thought that perhaps there was going to be a negotiation started with the township as to what each budget's share would be.
Well, I wouldn't expect the township to pay any of the costs of fitting out the library portion of this facility. That would be our cost to fit that out. They would make sure the walls don't fall down and it doesn't leak.
No, I think townships normally do outfit libraries.
Oh, okay. If that's so, I was unaware of that. Jen?
Jen?
I know that that is the case, and typically that would be expected here. It was someone's recommendation, and my thinking is that it was Chris who said, why don't we see if our very healthy reserves within the library board could, in this instance, cover some of those, some or all of those costs, just to make sure it happens, and
Yeah.
And given that there is quite an investment that is coming from, from the township in other ways. So I know the township is not expecting that's a guarantee. The township is expecting that there's a negotiation of some kind, but the starting thought was, could reserves cover those things?
So
Adele?
I had thought that it was, could reserves cover some of those costs? Like, I don't recall hearing all of the costs.
Well, yeah, so we are where we are. I have more of an all of the costs, but none of it was guaranteed. So we're sort of in that same, we still have to have, come up with an agreement of some kind. The township is not expecting it.
My recollection of this, and it's kind of the way Jen is talking about it just now. I mean, the township is giving us a fairly good sized room, actually, when you count the two together, more than we asked for in their facility, and are ensuring that those rooms are physically in good shape before we start relocating into them and moving our stuff in. My personal feeling on this is that if they're doing that for us, now I know in the other townships, they provide a building. Where I am, the town provided the building that we're in, and Dysart provided the building that we're in Haliburton. But I still think that this is a unique opportunity for us to kind of hold hands with the township and say, if you get us that facility set and ready to go, we'll fit it out for you. And that's quite why I was kind of thinking about having that up to 63,000 number there, because if at some point in time, as we're doing this, there is able to negotiate a little bit of room between us and the township, then that's fine. The staff know that they've got a cap to work with. And if it comes to the point where the township is going to do something that we didn't expect them to do to help us out, then we don't need to spend all that money, but let's have it there in case we have to. I'm very comfortable in saying that township, you get the two rooms ready, let us use them, and we'll take care of filling them up. Don't worry about that. That's where my head's at. Paul?
The only issue with that is, and I'm somewhat with Adele on, I remembered it was supposed to be an inducement to having this thing move forward.
Mm-hmm.
The issue might be in the future that a township will say, well, you did it for them, so why are you not doing it for us? And then it really gets to be a difficulty. Mm-hmm. So I still think we should go back to, we can offer to do some of the outfitting, depending on the response from the township, but not wholesale. We're going to do it all. Mm-hmm. So, hopefully there'll be some traction on that one. council tomorrow if there's a discussion about it.
Adele?
I mean, at this point, I think what the Algonquin Highlands report says is that the money was there anyway.
Mhm.
As part of the renovation or rehabilitation budget of the rec center. So I don't think the township is going to the taxpayers for that 32,000. It was already going to be.
It was
was
part of the
already-
capital. It was part of the capital reconstruction or
Right, so something was going to happen in that room and
Mhm.
money was to be spent in that room no matter what. So where I'm sitting is that if townships normally furnish the libraries, then meeting in the middle is a good place to start if we are offering some help.
Yeah. Okay, Jen, go ahead.
I'm happy to stand corrected and I will verify, but it would be my expectation that the 32,000 is more of a public works capital cost, and that recreation would come in with costs for furnishing and other, needfuls for the people part of the building. So I doubt that the 32,000 had contained things like desks and things. In addition to that, just that reminder that the meeting space is completely covered by the township. So all the desks and chairs and whatever else is going to be there in that meeting room is already covered by the township.
That's the point I was going to make, Jen. We've been offered a 680 square foot piece of a building, but oh, by the way, there's a 200 square feet. I don't know the number. I'm just picking a number. Say there's 200 square feet across the hall. It's going to be fully furnished that you're welcome to use whenever you want. And matter of fact, start booking it now and get it ready. I know, and I understand exactly what you're saying, Adele, with respect, and Paul, with respect to the kind of the quid pro quo. If you do it there, then we're going to do it here kind of thing. But I think this is a little bit of a more unique situation than in most cases, where we built 2 or 3 buildings. As the municipalities have given us 2 or 3 buildings among all the municipalities that they've constructed and paid for. I do remember last year, I think, or the year before, when we were replacing the kids' chairs in the Haliburton library, that we went back to the municipality and got them to approve taking money out of a reserve to do that, which is money that we had raised, I think, or they had raised on our behalf. Is that it?
That they had reserved for us. So these chairs that we're currently sitting on here in the program room, and also the small chairs in the children's section, and the new computer chairs were all paid for by Dysart et al.
And that reserve was money left over from the fundraising campaign that originally built the building itself and furnished the building itself, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure if it was the fundraising, but it was definitely allocated for space. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you want to play the Jen? Go ahead.
Just the thought on fundraising. We do have Dorset Snowball coming up in February. And at the Dorset tree lighting a couple of nights ago, Liz did raise the very strong likelihood that the Dorset Library would come back, and there was a tremendous round of applause and perhaps a tear or two, and some very, very, very happy people receiving that news. And I wonder if this is also, if the Dorset Snowball could be an opportunity to do a little bit of fundraising for a kids' corner. Let's get some great desks and chairs in there. And I'm not saying let's not take this to the township, not at all. I'm not saying that I know they're going to say no to it. Not in the slightest, but it could be a way of engaging the Dorset community at this point in rebuilding their library for those few things.
Yeah. So, Andrea, you need a number now, do you, to plug in here?
Well, if we are going to open a branch in the first quarter, we will to get going on purchasing collections and furniture. Things you have to order, and they sometimes take.
Yeah, so you need it for 24 budget. You need it for 2024 budget purposes. So we have to allocate something that's going to allow you to put that in the budget going forward. Is the Paul?
Can we put something in the resolution that speaks to pending discussions with the township on outfitting the facility? Just something on the tail end of it, so that it recognizes that it's not wholesale the library paying for it, but also that there will be some discussion.
Yeah, that can be put in the motion, as can the up to 63,000 can be put in the motion. All pending discussions with the township. Jen?
Just a couple other general thoughts on budget. Number one, and I'm speaking a tiny bit out of turn here, but as we are talking about budget, if you just envision for a moment that layout that you saw along the corridor before you turn left into the library or right into the meeting room, there is a wall. There's a big old wall, and I wonder if there is scope for putting a big old piece of branding on that wall to welcome people into the library, because we've got a beautiful brand now, and it would be such a welcoming thing to see at the end of the corridor, and it would really draw people in. And I know that would have a budget implication depending on what was chosen. So that's one. And two, now that you're aware of the meeting space that's being proposed, I also wonder if there could be any provision, if it works for you, of having rolling stacks or rolling something, so that on the days when the library is open and staffed, one could very simply, roll a couple of things in there to make it, more accessible for folks, along with that meeting space, knowing that when the meeting space is not available to the library is not open either, and therefore, those stacks, they might be in the way, but you're just kind of rolling them in where nobody's getting them anyway on the off days. So just to sort of expand that space out. And if there is the prospect of having a rolling collection of some kind, even I don't know what it would be, but then is there a budget implication for that?
Yeah, good point. Okay, so what's the pleasure of the board? Do you want to put a number in here that gives the staff enough room to start planning ahead and maybe ordering furniture and other things like that? Or do you want to, Adele, go ahead.
Well, I think we're at the point where Andrea has said to open the branch, she needs 63,000. But
yes.
I think talking about now is who's going to pay for it.
Yes, but it doesn't matter who's going to pay for it. If we can't, if we're going to say we're going to enter into negotiations with the township about paying for part of it, then we'd have to crystal ball what we would put in or what we would expect them to put in, because Andrea needs that number now to get going to prepare the 2024 budget that she has to submit to the county. So we kind of need a number right now to start with, unless, Andrea, you can wait a month to get that number. Adele?
Wouldn't that money be coming out of reserves anyway?
Yes. Yeah.
I think Jackie had her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see the Jackie. I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't see you.
That's all right. I like the idea of the up to $63,000, because that doesn't imply any obligation to be $63,000. But I also like Paul's idea about the pending discussions with the township about possible contribution to the furnishing. And I with regard to the furnishing, did the council allocate monies for furnishing other parts of the building? So was it part of their budgeting process to allocate anything to furnish that space anyway? You understand what I'm saying? That
yeah.
Was that part of the...
The township is going to try to use as much of the stuff that we'd had before once it's been completely sanitized. And we've had some experts in there. It looks, for a while it looked like that scene from E.T., when they've got the
Yeah.
tunnels going into the house and they're hermetically sealing the alien off from the rest of the world. For a short while the township building looked like that, and the first part of that was hermetically sealing the sanitized furniture and putting it into another space to keep it clear of mold. It was quite an extraordinary feat. So as much of that furniture that we have will be brought back, so that the old room would probably have been re-equipped with what we'd already had. And I'm sure there are some new things that are being considered, but it would not have been considered at the moment of deciding the budget for the refurb. Like for the physical reconstruction of the building, that would come at a later date when we start to get programming up and running again.
Yeah. So go ahead, Jackie.
In that case, is there library furniture already that is in the sanitization process?
I don't know if what we had for library furniture from years ago is still available or not. I can absolutely inquire, and maybe this is a good first step. If I chat with Andrea offline about what are the specifications that she's looking for, I can take that to the township and say, do we still have any of this stuff, or do we have stuff that we can bring from elsewhere, or whatever it might be that would fit the bill. And just
great, like particularly shelving, as Andrea says, shelving is ridiculously expensive. So if there was shelving available, that could make a nice difference.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
My recollection from visiting the Dorset Library, not just before the building closed, but a bit before that, the furniture wasn't to the current library standards like in Minden or Dysart or Wilberforce. So it might have been the tables were more like the Canadian Tire folding leg tables, as I recall. But
yeah, I agree with you.
Not be quite as friendly to the user.
I think
Andrea?
whatever the furniture, if it's reused from before or new, I think the quality of it is important. And also we're reopening a branch, and we have invested a lot in our branding, and we probably don't want to reopen and have like old rickety furniture that was
we're not going to do it on the cheap.
Like, I know that's the thrifty answer, it may be the Haliburton answer, but it's not.
Yeah, I hear you.
So how about this for a motion then? Be it resolved that the Haliburton County Public Library Board approves the use of up to $63,000 from library reserves, subject to discussions with with Algonquin Highlands for the reopening of the Dorset branch in the Dorset Recreation Center, something like that. That gives us a ceiling, and it opens the door for some discussions with Algonquin Highlands about what they may or may not want to do. Would that work? Adele, would that work for you?
Sure.
Okay. So it's going to be.
Can I raise something here, if I may?
Of course, Jen, go ahead.
The idea that the township could chip in will not come as a surprise to them. As has been said, this is a very normal practice.
Yeah.
So, it's not like they'll be in any way offended by having this conversation. I think it's safe in that resolution that it will be understood the way it is intended, is my point.
Okay, so the motion will read, be it resolved that the Haliburton County Public Library Board approves the use of up to $63,000 from the library reserves, subject to discussions with Algonquin Highlands as to let's just leave it Algonquin Highlands, and rather let's not move it forward in any way as to how much they're going to put in. So
You want to say as to their contribution though, discussions?
subject to discussions of, okay, subject to discussions with how. Are you writing this down for me, Melanie?
No,
Okay, I'm gonna have to come, I'll have to scratch this out and write it properly. Subject to discussion with Algonquin Highlands, and Adele, would you say what you just said?
Regarding their contribution to,
Okay,
to the.
regarding their contributions, okay. If that's
David?
okay,
oh, Paul.
Paul, what would you like to say? Go ahead.
On the mechanics of the thing, having spent 20 years in provincial government, there's often journal back to from between one branch to another and so on. Is it something that we do in the county that if Andrea went ahead with ordering some of the material and so on, and even though the discussion hadn't been completed, then that there is a return of the funding? Like, does that happen here or no?
I think usually we agree
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that goes back and forth like that, Paul. I think there's an agreement on who's going to spend what and away you go, kind of thing. Jen? Go
I
ahead.
just want to be clear. The one thing that, I'm very happy to take this back to the township. There's no question. I don't feel all that great asking them to chip in the entire set of stacks, for example. I just want to confirm we're not talking about that. We're talking about tables and chairs and some of the other things. Is that my?
That would be
Okay.
my understanding, Jen, is that, we would order, like, the shelving is very unique and specific, and we would get that. But some of the other peripheral stuff, that's where they may come into play here. But that's part of the negotiations. And we could go in and say, okay, we're going to take care of the shelves. We need your help on some of this other stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So here's the motion. Be it resolved that the Haliburton County Public Library Board approves the use of up to $63,000 from the library reserves, subject to discussions with Algonquin Highlands regarding their potential contribution for the reopening of the Dorset branch in the Dorset Recreation Center. Jen, is that going to sit okay with your guys or not?
It is. I think, though, we could actually get rid of the word potential, because even in the provision of the furniture in the meeting room, we are already contributing.
Okay, it'll just read regarding their contribution. It won't say potential. Okay, sounds good. So you've heard the motion. Could I have a mover and seconder, please, if you're interested in doing that? Moved by Paul, seconded by hang on, let me put this here. I'm good. And Jackie, okay. Anybody opposed to that? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. There you go. Andrea, you've got your marching orders. All right, now that brings us to the end of the meeting, except I have to ask the one and only municipal councillor here, if you're interested in saying anything about a municipal roundtable.
Yeah, great news. It looks like we're going to get a new library branch in Dorset.
Oh, really? When? Oh, isn't that nice? Okay. Thank you both very much. So I have a motion now. We're going to go into closed session, and I promise just for 5 or 10 minutes max. Be it resolved, and I think that's all. It may take more than that, subject to what you say, but I don't think it will. Be it resolved that pursuant to the Public Libraries Act, RSO 1990, Chapter P44, Section 16.1, the Haliburton County Library Board enters into closed session for the following reasons: personal matters about an identifiable individual. Is that good? Now, Aaron, what do we do now?
Are you dead and closed now, Jackie?
Yes.
We want to be live before we adjourn.
Yeah, you're live now, David.
Okay, thank you. So I have a motion, a mover and seconder. The motion is that be it resolved that the December 13th, 2023 regular meeting of the Haliburton County Library Board now adjourn. Moved by Jen, second by Jackie. Anybody opposed? Okay. I don't really need, just for reference, I usually don't have a seconder for an adjournment motion or a motion to adjourn. It's just somebody has to move it. So I'll put Jen in there as